standout subject lines. It does not do you any good to create an email if no one opens it. Today we're going to talk about what you need to be doing to get noticed in the inbox. My name is Lorraine Ball. I own a company called Roundpeg, and this program, along with all of the presentations in the Bootcamp series, is sponsored by Constant Contact. We are thrilled to be an authorized reseller for them and a solution provider because we really think that their complete email package is the one toolkit every small business owner needs, from newsletters and auto response programs, which is really what we're focusing on this week, to feedbacks and surveys and offers and promotions, and even event registrations for programs like this one. We think Constant Contact does it all. Those of you who are not using Constant Contact, if you're interested in a free trial, please send me a note after the program. Today we're going to focus on subject lines, how to get your emails opened. At its core, marketing is about getting results. Now, if you're running a company like Coke or Pepsi, it's okay. You can focus on building brand awareness. But for smaller businesses, the key is really about that immediate interaction from a prospective customer. You send them an email, you want them to do something. Now, it would be great if every time you put a marketing message out there, you immediately got a sale. But for many of us, results and interaction from a marketing campaign is more of a first step along the way. Maybe someone clicks on an email, visits your store, makes a reservation, or picks up a telephone and calls you. All of these interim steps are ultimately designed to create revenue and donations. And email marketing fits into this interim step. Yes, some products can have a buy now button in an email, and if that fits for you, I would totally recommend that you do that. But for many of us, the email is designed to warm up the prospect and move them to the next step in the process. And you can't get there if you can't get them to open your email. Why do I focus so much on email, and why is it such an important part of the marketing process for small businesses? Because it is really hard to beat. Today, 91% of U.S. adults responded to a survey saying that they like to receive promotional emails from companies they do business with. This really points to that idea of permission-based marketing. Complete strangers do not respond this way. 91% of complete strangers don't want to hear from you, but 91% of people who you have a business relationship with are willing to get your email. And people will spend 138% more with email offers than people who don't receive offers. So if you are sending out product-specific emails, you have an opportunity to increase how much you're selling. Today, what we're going to focus on and why subject lines are so important, how to write good ones, and this is really the meat of the program. We're going to talk a little bit about how subject lines and pre-header text is different on desktop and mobile, and then share some next steps. I've already said this. Subject lines are important because if I can't get you to open an email, I am not going to be very effective at delivering my message and getting you to pay attention to anything else I have to say. Subject lines can bring you more business revenue and build awareness around your business and your organization. And this tiny little piece of text right here is what sets the tone. And you can simply say a newsletter from, or you can have a little bit of fun. Stir crazy, and when you open it up, there's an email from the lucky dog. Don't graduate hungry. I loved this email subject line because here they definitely had a specific message. People are going to be more curious if it simply said a catering menu from or plan your next graduation party. It wouldn't have been as engaging. So you have an opportunity with your subject line to not only get someone's attention, but kind of establish a little bit of your brand personality. What you are trying to do with your subject line is to win the battle between now, later, or never. We all do it. Every single one of us, we get so much email that we essentially approach our inbox the way a field medical officer does triage. They make decisions on the fly about which patients are critical and need to be treated now, which patients are fine and can be sent back out the door, and which ones can kind of hang around and wait for a while. Well, when it comes to email, the now emails get read and acted on, and the later emails, people read a subject line and go, oh, I'll get back to that later. And what happens? More emails come in, and the laters become never. So your objective needs to be to create that sense of urgency, that curiosity around what you have to say that get people to open your emails now. The three main reasons people will open your email. Number one, they recognize the sender. So your email address in the sent from becomes really important. This is where you need to have a recognizable company email. You should not be sending it from a Gmail or a Yahoo account. You will increase the chances, number one, that you'll end up in their spam folder, and number two, that they may not consider you a legitimate business. The second reason that people will open your email is that it arrives at a convenient time. And the third is that there is a compelling subject line. Now there's, on the convenient time, this will vary for businesses, but a good rule of thumb, if you've never sent any email campaigns, is to stick to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at either 10 or 2 p.m. And then after you've been sending campaigns for a while, you may want to vary the time, or you may want to split your list and send it at 2 different times to see which one works better. But today we're going to focus on compelling subject lines. And here's something you need to think about. As I'm scrolling through my email, whether I'm on my phone or my desktop, you have about 2 seconds to catch my attention. You really have to grab me with your first 2 words. And so this is why anytime you see people using update from, news from, you're wasting those first 2 words that I see as I'm skimming down the page. And the last is today. If you want people to open your email today, you got to pay attention to the 2 words that they're going to read in 2 seconds. You want to be clear, you want to be clever, you want to have a little bit of fun or convey something serious or important, but you have to do it in a few words. You actually only have 5 or 6 words total, because what happens if your subject line gets too long? It gets truncated here in the inbox. I loved this one. Agro yoga at 11,000 feet, you in? I'm not quite sure what agro yoga is. I'm not sure why I would be doing it at 11,000 feet, but I'm curious. I'm way more curious than if the subject line had said, new yoga class from. I expect Half Moon Yoga to have new yoga classes. This is more interesting. It's not something I'm going to see. And every business can do this. It takes a little bit of effort, but the payoff is real. The other thing, let me go back to that for a moment. Some email clients, and certainly mobile, will not only show you the headline, the subject line, they will show you the first line of text. This is called pre-header text. Now, a lot of email systems create a line of pre-header text at the top of every email that says, if you're having trouble reading this email, click here to preview in browser. And so then what happens is when I am seeing pre-header text, that's what I see. You're wasting an opportunity to reinforce your marketing message. This is one of the things I absolutely love about Constant Contact is I can manually change this to anything that I want as I get ready to send. This teaser text will reinforce whatever you're putting in your subject line. If you're not using Constant Contact and you're using another email tool, what you want to do is make sure that the first line of text in your email is interesting and compelling. Don't leave it as that silly default text because you're wasting a marketing opportunity. You need to choose your words carefully. You want to avoid spam-like terms. And you want to, when you send an email, make sure you're sending a test to set to your account and see if you end up in the spam folder. And again, with Constant Contact, there's a spam check button. Now, what do I mean by spam-like terms? Well, here's the problem. They're not really words that by themselves are bad. Fast, free, act now, guarantee, save. The problem is that over the years, spammers have latched onto these phrases, and they appear most often in subject lines. And so your challenge when you're writing an email is you really want to stay away from a lot of these terms. And you're like, but wait, those are phrases I would want to use. You want to try to minimize the amount of time that, or minimize the use of them. Free is a great word. Put it in all caps in your subject line, and a lot of service providers are going to take your email and send it right to spam. Special offer rather than free, or special promotion, this week's promotion, new promotion, will be better than focusing on these phrases. The other thing you want to do is you want to avoid excessive promotion. Do not put 3 exclamation points in your subject line. Do not replace the S with a $sign to communicate savings. Any of those tricks have been so abused by spammers that your subject line will actually work against you. I know that some people are starting to use those cute little emoticons in their subject lines. I'm going to really, really encourage you to stay away from that. Again, it just makes your email look spammy, both to human beings and to the automated email systems that people use to scan and screen for spam. A good subject line will make or break your email. This week in cycling news with an exclamation, this is a terrible subject line. Why? I know it's this week. It's showing up in my inbox today. I know this is coming from Cycling News because the email address it's coming from is Southside Cycling. Tell me something I don't know. Tell me in the headline, special event this week, Cycle Club meetup, new brakes for cycles in, whatever. Tell me something I don't know that gets me to open it. Standout subject lines, kind of some general rules. Number one, subject lines need to be fairly short. 4 to 7 words is ideal. Part of the transition to digital hurts my heart a little bit as an advertiser and a writer, because there are times on a magazine article or a story that you want a long headline, and you really need those extra words to say and communicate what you want. That's great in print. It doesn't work in digital. Headlines have to be short and sweet. Having special offers in the subject line, letting people know member-only discount, collect your member-only discount, collect your new customer gift. Having those kind of things in the headline, letting people know what's inside, can be very powerful. And what you're going to see is there's no one right answer. In the program today, I'm going to talk about a lot of different approaches. You want to keep it clean and easy for mobile. Again, a lot of those email clients will truncate that headline. Brand identity, make sure that not only is the email address clear, but that you think a little bit about your brand identity. I'm going to show you some headlines that we've used that you may look at and go, well, I could never say that. And that's true. You might not be able to because it doesn't fit your brand personality. Everything that you send, every word that you choose, every image that you pick needs to support the perception that you are trying to create in the mind of your customers. Another cool approach to subject lines is this kind of hint of mystery, kind of teasing people that there's something they don't know inside. And another approach is to ask questions designed to make them think. You can create urgency with a headline that says, only 5 left, don't miss out. Leave out the exclamation point. Have fun, entertain, warn, inform, share knowledge. Let people know that there's something that they don't know that you do that they're going to get if they open up. And I'm also going to show you a couple of literary techniques, kind of take you back to 8th grade English class. Top appeal is one of the most common subject line strategies. And these strategies will work not only in your newsletter, they will work if you use them for blog posts and social media shares. So an example might be 7 must-haves for fall. 3 things, the 3 biggest mistakes, the 3 best ideas. Creating this sense of urgency, I mentioned it before, only 12 seats left, get yours before midnight. Time's running out. Last chance to buy. Anything that makes people think, I have to open this now. Personalize. Use segmenting tips to create clusters of subgroups within your customer base. And the personal headline might not be why people your age need a retirement plan, but why young married couples need a retirement plan, why millennials need a retirement plan, why baby boomers need to be rethinking their retirement plan. The more niche, the more personal you can make that subject line, the more it feels like it's written just for me. Instead of sending out an email that says, the marketing tool every home service company needs, if I can even narrow it down and say the marketing tool every plumber should have, the marketing tool every doctor, or the marketing tool every podiatrist. The niche topic is only going to be relevant for a small audience, but it's going to be really relevant. Ask a question. Make sure that you ask a question that you kind of know the answer to. This is a tactic that we used to use a lot back in the day when I was designing sales brochures. There's a question on the cover that's designed to make people a little bit curious or maybe a little uncomfortable. Do you need more prospects? Do you have all the prospects you want? If they say yes, they're not going to open the email, they're not going to open your brochure, but if they don't, they're really not a good fit for you anyway. Exclusive appeal. Let people know that this, whatever it is in this email, is only for them because they're part of a special group. Members only open house. Best pricing for loyal customers. Special preview. Something that lets people know that not everybody is going to get what they're about to see. And kind of stay in the know. 13 signs you're budgeting wrong. This negative that you're doing something wrong. There's a lot of research around human behavior that says that people are more likely to move away from pain than they are to move towards a positive outcome. So if you're trying to get someone off of dead center, if you scare them, they're more likely to take action than if you hold out candy. So the threat of the stick is more motivating sometimes than the carrot. Give you some more examples of top appeal headlines. Oops, sorry. Any of these can be attached to almost anything that you sell or do. Top 3 reasons people choose us. Top 3 reasons you need to do this. Top 3 reasons whatever. Top 5 priorities, top 7 concerns. That word top, best, need to know can be matched with any product or service. And the numbers, and we'll talk a little bit more about numbers. Very small and very large numbers work. Why? If you tell me there are 10 things in that email, I might not necessarily want to open the email now, because what that says to me is, wow, I don't really have, that's going to take some time to read all of that, and I don't have time. But if it's top 3 or top 4, I'm like, wow, I can read that really quick, and maybe I'll get something I can use right away. So lower numbers work, and then really big ones, 50 ways, 100 ways. Why? Because the other psychology thing at work there is, wow, if there's a list of 50 suggestions, surely one of them will be good. So people are more likely to open emails that have got really small numbers or really big numbers. Literary techniques. This is where I promised we'd take a quick trip back to middle school. There's something you may remember called the onomatopoeia. These are words and phrases that have a sound associated with them. Boom, crackle, pop, snap. When you read the word, your brain kind of hears the sound that's being described. And so these words and phrases that have a sound associated with them tend to startle and stop people. Allusions, you can also refer to this as a cultural reference. And allusions work well if your audience recognizes the cultural reference that you are alluding to. If I'm targeting customers of a certain age, saying, "Where's the beef?" works, because they remember the actress Clara Peller in the Wendy's commercial opening up that great big bun and seeing that tiny little speck of a hamburger and howling, "Where's the beef?" The problem? That is really effective as long as people remember Clara Peller. It stops being effective when that cultural reference is no longer relevant. So it is about timing. It is about people actually remembering the original so they connect with whatever your headline is. Alliteration. This is one of my personal favorites, and I don't know why, but my brain works this way. When you use the alliteration technique, what you're doing is every word in the sequence starts with the same letter. We do this a lot with our cookbooks for clients. So you end up with a cookbook entitled Wonderful Winter Warmers or Savory Seasonal Soups. That continuity sort of pulls people's eye through the headline. It's got a nice rhythm to it. I wouldn't force it, but if your brain works this way, it definitely creates some fun titles. Chunking. This is when you bundle things together, and here the example is Lions and Tigers and the Springfield Bears, oh my. It's really a cross between the illusion and the chunking process. But think of this kind of like when you go to the grocery store and you have 3 things that you know you need to buy. You sort of walk into the store repeating them over and over again in your head. Toilet paper, tissues, and hot dog buns. Toilet paper, tissues, and hot dog buns. And it's 3 things that really don't even go together, but you sort of have chunked them so that you remember them together. It works really well in a sequence of 3. And numbers, we've already kind of talked about it, but that using numbers in your headline creates headlines people pay attention to. So let's take a look at how some of these might be used for newsletters. So for a June promotion, using that onomatopoeia technique, splish splash, oh, the prices we've slashed. You kind of hear, as you read that splish splash, you can kind of hear the sound of something hitting water, and so it creates a visual and an emotional in the head of the reader. Cha-ching! I'm not even sure what this is about, but I know it's making a reference to prices and money as I hear that cash register ring. Joe's Pet Store, using illusions. Who let the dogs out? Pet shots this Saturday. You can almost hear the band in the background going, who let the dogs out? And that's perfect as long as somebody remembers that song. 5 years from now, an entire new generation will never have heard that song. That subject line will not work. It will not work as effectively. Fido's got 99 problems, but fleas ain't one. I think this is a great headline. Personally, I don't recognize the cultural reference. I don't know what it's alluding to, but I still think it's clever. But that is a challenge because if I don't recognize the reference, I may not connect. Alliterations. Make mom's morning miraculous. See how everything sort of rolls together. Cards, candy, and one cozy couch. This kind of is a 1-2 punch because it's both an alliteration and a chunking. You've got 3 things that sort of go together, but not really, but I'm bringing them together, and as I bring them together, I've kind of made you curious as to how they all fit together. Signing up for summer camp, using the chunking method, archery, fencing, and sailing, camp 2015. When I first saw this headline, it was written Camp 2015 and then the 3 things, and I flipped it. I saw the 3 things and then I flipped the order and put camp at the back. Why? The email is coming from the summer camp. I know it's summer 2015 that's coming up, and so that's kind of the closer. The front end are the new programs, the archery, fencing, and sailing. Kids love it. Parents dream about it. Registration is open. Here again, you've got 3 different ideas. It's a little long, but it's sort of fun. Using numbers to promote a concert, 3 can't miss summer festivals. Here you've got the can't miss, you've got that number. This next example is one of my favorite uses of numbers because it's in a totally different way. 16 bands, but only 1 Miranda Lambert. So there are numbers in the headline. You're making a statement. The truth is, if I'm a Miranda Lambert fan, you've got my attention. Even if I wasn't thinking about buying a ticket to her concert, being very upfront about your love for Miranda Lambert, you've created a connection with me. If I was doing this as a live session, I would have you look at these 3 headlines and make them better. Our monthly tax newsletter, new product arrival, and get a free Apple Watch. Well, I don't really have time, and it doesn't work as well in a recorded session to have you go through and share your ideas, but let's take just 30 seconds and think about what would you change these headlines to. All right, so 30 seconds feels really long when you're sitting there listening to silence on a webinar, but you get the idea. So our monthly tax newsletter, well, if it's coming from an accounting firm, I know it's a tax newsletter, and I don't have to guess that it's your monthly newsletter because it's the 15th of the month and that's when it comes. Pay less income tax with 3 overlooked deductions. Now you've got my attention. Less income tax, overlooked deductions. Yeah, I'm in. New product arrival. Great. You asked for it, it's here. I'm not sure what it is, but if I asked for it, I'm going to open up the email. Get a free Apple Watch. Odds are I'll never see this newsletter because the word free is in all caps and there isn't 1, there are 3 exclamation points. You can get my attention by being a little bit more edgy and simply say, Apple Watch, want one? Well, yeah, maybe I do. It doesn't take a lot of effort if you think about creative ways to adjust the sentence. Think about how you might talk to me in person and suddenly the headlines get easier to write. Where do you find inspiration? Where do you find ideas? Well, you can watch this program over and over again, but after a while it's not going to be that effective. I'm going to tell you, look at the news, read headlines in newspapers, look at magazine covers and magazine headlines and see how these publications are grabbing people's attention. Look at their choice of words, look at their phrasing. Look at what your competitors are doing in social media and in blog posts. Do a search in Google for a phrase or a topic you're thinking of writing about and look at some of the different headlines that pop up. Look at blog titles and other ideas. Pay attention to Twitter because this is really a great source of ideas because they have many of the same constraints on Twitter that you're going to have with your email. You have a limited amount of space to capture attention and get people to notice and click through. And particularly if you are going down the number route, take a look at some of the listicles that are out there that make you click on headlines. And some of the best sources of these listicles are sites like BuzzFeed, Upworthy, and Mashable. They have become the masters of the silly headline that gets you to click and click and click and really pay attention to What are they doing with the wording? How are they pulling you in? What was it that made you click? And then test alternatives. This is a test that we actually did. We had the same email and we divided our list into 3 parts, and we used 3 different headlines and 3 different subject lines. We went a little bit edgy and kind of in your face. No time for email, that's like saying you got no time for sales. I would actually say that to someone, and so I felt very comfortable with that little bit of an in-your-face approach. The second version was very straightforward, very businesslike. It's time to rethink your email. Your email marketing needs to be refreshed. Learn how. And our third version, we went down that kind of negative path. Is your email failing? Save time and stay out of the spam folder. So on the one hand, we had a subject line that sort of challenged you that you weren't doing your job. The second was very straightforward. And the third one kind of was just designed to make you a little uncomfortable and then rescue you. When we ran the test, we found that among our readers, the one that performed the least well was version 2, the boring one. Our readers really didn't want straightforward messaging. Why? Because everyone else in our industry was doing this. The one that got the highest open rates was the one that was a little edgier, and in close second place was this: is your email failing? Not every audience will react the way ours did. Your customers may be expecting different things from you. Try, test, tweak, and over time you'll get better. When it comes to email marketing, again, just kind of some general rules to follow. Size matters. Keep it clear, clever, and keep it short. 30 to 40 characters is really all you can get on a mobile device. While you can go 6 to 11 words, 4 to 7 is going to have the greatest response. And then take advantage of that pre-header text, those first 11 to 18 words that will be presented to mobile readers. And if you think that I'm overreacting in terms of how much attention I am paying to mobile, remember that 53% of email is opened on mobile devices. I've kind of talked a little bit about the preview pane and pre-header text, and I want to just give you a little closer look at the two. On a lot of email clients, particularly Outlook on desktop, you have the option of getting a preview pane, which allows you to read an email on a desktop. It actually displays the top half of an email without someone opening the email. Pre-header text is only available and only really works on mobile, where the first line of text above the logo is presented in the inbox. Kind of looks like this. Pre-header text. So you see, this is my phone, and I see all of my emails lined up. I see the headline, and then I see the pre-header text. And here it is. Start building trust with your email, and there it is right at the top of the email. You can see that it's right there on top of the news, on top of the actual newsletter. This text, you can edit it and make it say whatever you want. It works best when you tie it to your subject line. On desktops, the preview pane works like this. Here's the email, here's the who it's from, there's my subject line, and while I'm scanning, when I click on these, the top part of the email displays. So, two things to keep in mind. Subject line, header text, and then also this really kind of leads into tomorrow's conversation where we talk about the visual appeal of the newsletter. There's the information, and there you see it again at the top of the page. Last thing, and this is really more of an administrative thing. This is something that will make your life easier when you go back 3 months, 6 months, a year from now to try to compare your results. In Constant Contact, you have an opportunity to name your campaigns. They will by default be called something like campaign created and the date. Always, always, always take the time to change this to something that is recognizable and unique and matched to the campaign. I typically like to put the date in the beginning and then what the email is about. Why is this important? Because when you send the campaign and then you go back to review your results, if you don't change the campaign name, what you end up with is something that looks like this. Okay, there was a campaign created here, 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 and here. Wow, this one did really good compared to the others. What was this campaign about? Wow, I don't know, because they're all named the same. Now I can see, oh, that was the thank you letter. That's why that one got such great open rate. Okay, so here's what I want you to do between today and tomorrow. Go back and look at a couple of your most recent email campaigns and then brainstorm 3 new headlines. Or better yet, start working on your next campaign and create 2 different versions of the headlines that you're going to test. Before you send your email, make sure you test it on mobile and desktop to see how it's going to look. Pay attention to the preview pane and the pre-header text, and always, always, always monitor your progress. What's next? Well, tomorrow we'll be talking about how to improve the look of your campaigns.